Hello everyone, hi, welcome to the channel of Wall Street Mojo. Friends, today we are going to learn a topic, inventory turnover ratio, from the packet that's called ratio analysis. So ratio analysis is like a book, and of that this is one page or one chapter. So inventory turnover ratio, one of the very important part of any business. I mean, it's a very important component. Let's understand what exactly goes in about inventory turnover ratio formula. It involves the cost of goods sold, right? Divide by the average inventories which are there in the which is there in the business. So inventory turnover ratio formula is important efficiency ratio. It's important efficiency ratio, right? And it dictates how fast a company is able to replace a current batch of inventory and transforms the inventory into sales. This is what exactly it means. So the formula goes something like this: inventory turnover ratio is equal to your COGS, cost of goods sold, divided by your average inventories, right? Now let's take an example of average inventory of ABC Inc. This is just for to understand how the formula operates. The cost of goods sold, that's the first component that we are going to have, which is, let's say, 6 lakh. This is just for your a crude example, 6 lakh, right? Then we have the beginning inventory, which is, let's say, 1 lakh 10,000. We'll try and interpret the formula, and the ending inventory is, let's say, 1 lakh 30,000. So let's try and evaluate the formula over here. The first and the foremost thing, we are going to write the answer over here. The first and the foremost thing that we need to start with is the average inventory of ABC Limited. That's going to be as follow. The average inventory is equal to, open the bracket, the beginning inventory and the closing inventory, divide by 2. Once you do that, you have your average inventory, which is the first thing. Actually, it's your denominator, and I'll just write denominator, and this is numerator, right? What's your numerator? Cost of goods sold. So after this, we can easily find the inventory turnover ratio. Inventory turnover ratio, ITO, is equal to your cost of goods sold divided by your average inventory. That's going to be 5 times. So by comparing the inventory turnover ratio of similar companies in the similar industry, we'd be able to conclude whether the inventory ratio is of ABC Limited over here is higher or lower. Let's understand this with the help of an example, a real life company. This was just a hypothetical company. Let's understand with a real life company. Colgate's inventory turnover ratio. Okay, in the inventory turnover example, we have a real life example of Colgate, and I'll show you a snapshot of inventory turnover ratio calculation. You may download by going on the website. Okay, Colgate's inventory turnover inventory consists of 3 types of inventories. One is called the raw materials. The another is called raw materials and supply. The another is called the work in progress, WIP, and the third is called the finished goods, FG. Let me show you. Now, as you can see, there are a couple of things. The inventories of December 14 and 15 is taken, and that of COGS is taken. So historically, Colgate's inventory turnover ratio has been in the range of 5x to 6x. So if we observe closely, Colgate's inventory turnover ratio has been bit lower in 2013 to 2015. As you can see, 5.17x, 5.1x, right? So it's decreasing. Now this indicates that Colgate is taking a bit longer to process its inventory into the finished goods. Now let me show you the graph of the same. If you can see over here, this is the inventory turnover ratio, right? There has been significant decrease in the ratio. You can see 5.17x, 5.11x, 5.18x. That's what we just saw in the balance sheet. We tried and analyzed the ratio. This is just a graphical formation. Now let's go to the explanation portion of the inventory turnover ratio. Now there are 2 significant components of the ratio. The first component is the cost of goods sold. So if we look into the income statement, that is the P&L, right? The profit and loss of the company, we would find that the cost of goods sold is quite easily. I mean, you can find the cost of goods sold quite easily. All that we need to do is to look at the fourth item on the income statement, and that's it. We'll get the data. I'll give you a snapshot of TCL company at the end of year 2017. Now this is the data for TCL and company. Okay. The second component of the formula, is basically the cost of goods sold. As you can see, of the formula is average inventory. I mean, to find out the average inventory, we need to use a simple average method. So we need to find out the beginning inventory and the ending inventory for the period, and then we all need to do is to divide the sum by 2. Like for example, if the beginning inventory is $40,000 and the ending inventory is $50,000, to find out the average inventory, we just need to add this 2, okay, and divide this by 2. So we'll have 45,000 as the average inventory. Now let's understand the significance and the use of the inventory turnover ratio. What exactly is the use? See, inventory turnover ratio is a great indicator of how a company is handling its inventory. So if an investor wants to check how well the company is managing its inventory, he or she should look at how higher or lower the inventory turnover ratio of the company is. Now for example, let's say the inventory turnover ratio of the company is very high. It means that if the inventory turnover ratio is high, that means the company has been managing its inventory quite well, right? And the lesser, you can say, the holding cost and fewer the chances of obsolescence. On the other hand, if the inventory turnover ratio is, let's say, lower, then the company is not able to manage its inventory quite well, and there's a lot of risk of obsolescence. But how would you understand whether the ratio is higher or lower? That's a question. So you would understand it by looking at the inventory ratio of the similar company in the industry, which is called a comp company lookout. So if you take, that comp means comparable companies lookout. If you take an average of the inventory turnover ratio, you would understand the pace, and on this pace you can measure whether the inventory ratio of the company is higher or lower. Now, go to the website if you want. You can check out this kind of a calculator over here. Try and make your own interpretation. I'll give you a few examples over here. How can you do things about, and try and learn things in a really good fashion. Now let's say your cost of goods sold is 5 lakh, okay, and your average inventory is 2 lakh 50. So what does that mean? Your average inventory turnover ratio formula is 2x, but as you increase your average inventories, that means the inventory turnover ratio is going down. So what we discussed, the lower the inventory turnover ratio, the company is able to manage the inventory quite well, okay, in this scenario. And there is also a risk of obsolescence, is not able to manage its inventory quite well. And as this amount goes down, your inventory turnover ratio goes up, and that means that the company has been managing its inventory turnover ratio quite well, and there is a lesser holding cost and fewer chances of the obsolescence. So in this fashion, you can keep changing the numbers, and you can see how things are changing, how the ratio is changing, and try and make your own interpretation out of the same. Thank you everyone.